now by clicking the Connects Us icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Fiber Internet is coming to Clinton. Get on the install list now.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio today, Cody Monkman, is the Executive Director of the Neighborhood Care Center. Good morning, Cody.
Good morning.
Good to see you once again. And Mandi Ries is the Director of Communications for the Neighborhood Care Center. Hi, Mandi.
Hey, Seth. How are you?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for coming out and talking with us today. And, of course, the holiday season is upon us, and it just dawned on me, we're going to be talking about, are we talking about Thanksgiving food baskets, even though Thanksgiving was last week?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
True story, Seth.
True story.
That just dawned on me. It really did. I'm really struggling.
You're in the Christmas mood now?
No, I'm not.
Oh, shoot.
It's got to hit December for me.
Sure.
I don't like this week-long hiatus, like period between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Give me like 4 days. That's enough.
Okay.
Give me the end of the weekend.
Okay, Grinch.
Wow.
I know.
Wow,
Man, I'm
Shots fired.
I'm all
Pretty
about
rude.
Christmas, but man, I don't want to wait a week. I just feel weird lighting Christmas candles and putting up the trees and
not
decorations.
December yet.
Yeah, it's not December. The snow on the ground helps.
It does help.
Enough
It's
of my
freezing.
therapy
And
session here.
and it's really cold outside right now.
Yeah, I don't mean to turn this into Seth's Christmas therapy session here today. Let's talk about Thanksgiving baskets, Mandi. What are these all about?
Yeah, so every year we do Thanksgiving baskets. And, we've talked a lot on the air here with you about Neighborhood Care Center and our why. And so, again, Thanksgiving baskets are a huge part of that. It's not really about the basket. It's not about the food, but it's an opportunity for us to connect with people in our community. And we use the food as a tool to do that. And I would say we approach Thanksgiving baskets a little bit differently as compared to other organizations. We don't do an actual sign up. We kind of hand select people, and Cody kind of has a little bit more about that process. So Cody, would you want to share just kind of how that works? And
Yeah, so probably in like September, October or so, we have one of our team leads who does inventory throughout the whole year. She puts in a big order for all those products. So, like, we have to decide in, like, September how many we're going to do for the holiday season. And then around the October time frame is when I start looking at all the different families that we've engaged with through Neighborhood Market, Economic Support Services, clothing referrals, mission partners that do Neighborhood Lab, looking at the people that they're investing in throughout the year, and using those different care center platforms to come up with families that we have the context of their household. Like, we know them. We have an idea as to how the family has, what kind of year they have had. There usually isn't families that make the original list that we don't know something. They're not just a name on paper. And so we use those lists and compile one list, and that ends up being our Thanksgiving basket list for the year. So we look at the whole, we've spent a year building a relational network. Well, we use that relational network to put the basket list together.
Yeah, sure. So how many families, when do you help them? When do you serve, when do you distribute these?
Yeah, so the delivery of those baskets for the Clinton network happens the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and then for McLean County it happens the Sunday before Thanksgiving. So it's all in one weekend. This year we did 137.
There you go. That was going to be my next question. Very good, Cody.
Or 147. Sorry.
I thought it was over 140.
147 baskets.
Just call it 150.
So yeah. So that has to do with how inventory products get shipped in. But anyways, so we probably could have increased that. That's about the same amount we did last year, but we decided to just repeat number-wise, given inflation and not really knowing how that will settle with grocery prices. So we just did the exact same number we did last year.
Yeah, sure. Do you rely on donations for these baskets? You know, how about getting the food and such for those?
Yeah. So for this particular care center volunteer event, we do not rely on non-perishable donations. We use our budget money. So donations that we receive throughout the calendar year that go into our general fund, we tap into that to then go buy these products because we got to put in the order in like September. And we need it to be similar products. So, you know, you do a food drive for, you know, spaghetti noodle or something, you might get 5 different types of spaghetti noodle and that kind of a thing. So we need it to all be the same kind. So there's some systematic reasons to that, but yeah, we use our financial donations.
Okay, gotcha. So around 150 meals. Do you mind if I ask what that costs?
Yeah. So this is based off of, inflation has definitely impacted this, but it's about $40 a basket. So what comes in our baskets is the enough to have pumpkin pie, green bean casserole, stuffing, potatoes, some canned fruits, rolls. There's
what about the turkey?
We don't do a turkey.
You don't do it
anymore. We used to do a turkey. We shifted to a chicken, and the reason why is we found over time that a lot of the families that we are targeting, a turkey is it's just too much to handle it. Some neighbors, it's have a hard time lifting it. They may not have an oven that's big enough. It's just a little more cumbersome, and a chicken is more doable. So we do a whole chicken. And
very thoughtful, to be honest.
I mean, Mandi mentioned how like we're trying to think of people that other people aren't thinking of. So that's why we don't do a public sign up, because a lot of the people that make it on our list, even if you had a public sign up, they're not going to be willing to sign up for it. And we're thinking of situations like families that have went through a loss of a loved one, or a divorcee situation, or a single parent, single grandparent raising grandkids, those types, medical bills, you know, maybe, they've just got, they've been in the hospital for a good portion of the year, stuff like that. It's not necessarily us identifying that they can't afford a Thanksgiving meal. I mean, that might be the case, but that might not be the case.
Okay.
Because our reasoning behind that gift isn't us projecting onto them what we think their problem is. It's more about neighbors connecting neighbors, and more that probably that front porch visit for some people.
Yeah,
And it's just kind of like letting people know that we see them.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
an act of service type of a thing. Yeah, absolutely. Plus, I mean, you talked about the public sign-up thing. There's so many other places to turn to for for help during the holidays and that sort of thing. And like you mentioned, I mean, probably a lot of these folks aren't going to sign up for that when it comes time for it. So again, Cody Monkman, Executive Director of the Neighborhood Care Center, and Mandi Ries is the Director of Communications with the Neighborhood Care Center. When it comes to the Hayworth network, Cody, I'm curious, like, did you have a good base to draw to or to serve this year for those baskets? I know we've been in Hayworth for a few years, but I'm just kind of curious, like, how's the need there? How are you finding that, the filling out that list, that sort of thing? Yeah,
so in McLean County, that and this is just the nature, it's not specific to McLean County, this is just a very normal thing throughout our country, is when you have, usually in a county area, the county seat is going to get the most attention. And then when that county seat is not considered rural or small town, there's a consolidation of resources that absolutely it just tends to happen. So what that means is during the holiday season, there's a lot of focus on Bloomington Normal. There just is. And then in the outlying areas, in the rural areas, if they get any kind of attention or resource, it's going to probably be more of like the breadcrumbs.
The leftovers, yeah.
So, I mean, that's a big reason why our McLean County network was even, we chose to be based in Hayworth, is we wanted to be different and not be that, we're based in Bloomington Normal kind of. No, like we believe in the rural areas enough that we want to go all in the rural areas. And
so was it beyond just Hayworth then that you're serving this year?
Oh, yeah. The McLean County network serves all of the small towns and rural areas like outside of Bloomington.
Like the Downs, the Leroys, the, Lexington, Danvers.
Well, I mean, we had a family from Towanda.
Oh, nice.
Well,
cool.
that's starting to get on the north side of Bloomington Normal.
And I wondered about that. Being based in the southern part of the county, are you getting the need? Because it's a good hike to get to the north side of McLean County, you know? And so, and there's no good way to get to anywhere unless they're off the highway, which I think almost Lexington and Hayworth are the only places. So, but or Towanda might be actually, now that I think about it. But anyways, what's the reach like to those areas?
The reality is when you're talking particularly McLean County, I mean, Bloomington Normal is in the center. Mm-hmm. There really isn't another community that's small and rural that is in the center that has some kind of local economy like a grocery store or a Dollar General that we can use as a partner in getting resources to the area. So that was one reason why Hayworth was even picked. The people, and I would say this is just how the network of the care center works. Whenever I meet someone that's fairly new, I'll ask, hey, how'd you hear about us? 90% of the time, it's word of mouth. And so, like, when I think of, like, I just had a meeting in McLean County with a lady from Colfax last week, seeking
now that's
help.
Far eastern McLean County.
Colfax is far. I mean,
yeah.
At least Towanda, you've got Towanda Barnes.
It's like northeast McLean County, right? Yeah, because you're almost to Fairbury up there.
Yeah,
I have to go there for basketball. That is a hike.
Yes,
that is a hike.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I was shocked. Because the reality is wherever the network is based, just by proximity, that's where you're going to engage with most people more than likely. That's just the nature of it. And then as far, the farther you get out, it's probably going to be less. That's how it plays out in DeWitt County for the Clinton network. But, even in McLean County, that's how it plays out there. So I will say for the McLean County, when it comes to Thanksgiving baskets, there was an increase when it came to McLean, Illinois families and Leroy. And then the rural areas around Hayworth. There was more of an engagement after we pieced the list together. So that just tells me throughout the calendar year, we have engaged with more families that are outside of the Hayworth school district area.
Well, and it feels like it would make sense that you start, in Hayworth and then you kind of branch out east-west and then that probably goes north and, eventually you get that outlying area all covered up. So, that makes a lot of sense.
And, I mean, that area is a little more tricky because when you're dealing with District 87 and Unit 5, there's some gray area. Like there's people that live, it's a Bloomington, Illinois address, but they go to Tri-Valley schools.
Right.
There's more of that gray area than what we have for the Clinton network.
Now, do you try to use the school districts as kind of your boundaries then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And the big reason for that is when you're talking rural, the educational institution justifies a lot of rural culture. So we use a lot of the school district lines for that. When it comes to the Clinton network, we saw an even bigger increase, substantial increase when it came to families from Farmer City and Maroa and Kinney, Illinois. So I find that interesting that there's more at play in the outer parts of the counties. So,
what I miss in the conversation today, guys, about Thanksgiving food baskets?
I think one of the things that's unique about how we do Thanksgiving baskets too is we notify the neighbor that they're going to be receiving one, and we let them know in that letter, like, if you feel like you don't have a need for this basket, we want you to regift it to someone else. Where a lot of organizations would be like, tell us you don't need it and we'll keep it, and we'll do something else.
Or we'll
with
find
it.
someone else to give it to. Yeah.
And that's really intentional for us because we want to be neighbors connecting neighbors.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
also to not put that expectation on people, kind of like Cody said, we're not going to assume that we know their problem, but just, hey, we see you, but if you feel like you don't have a need for this, who's someone that you see that could maybe benefit from this
Right.
and use this as an opportunity to cross the street.
And I'll bet those people you're targeting are more than willing to do that,
Yeah,
for sure.
I actually had one lady who received it. She was like, you know what, I didn't need it, but my nephew's really been struggling. He's without a job right now, and she's like, I knew he needed it, so I was like, hey, this basket's going to be delivered during this time. I'm not going to be home, but if you guys would like it, just hang out at my house. And they actually like raked her leaves for her, which she's a recent widow. So they saw like, hey, her leaves need to be done, so they raked her yard while they waited for their basket.
That's cool.
So it's just a really unique opportunity for neighbors to connect to other neighbors.
Sure. Cody, where do folks go to learn about all things Neighborhood Care Center Clinton and Hayworth?
neighborhoodcarecenter.net, and we're also on Facebook and Instagram.
That is Cody Monkman, Executive Director of the Neighborhood Care Center, and Mandi Ries is the Director of Communications with the Neighborhood Care Center. Our guests in studio. More to come with them on the morning show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Tuesday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. Corn starting the day slightly higher. Beans higher. Wheat also slightly higher. December corn 4.55 3/4, up 1/4. March corn up half a penny, 4.75 3/4. May corn 4.87 1/2, up 3/4. January beans 13.34 1/2, up 4 3/4. March beans up 5 1/4, 13.53 1/2. May beans 13.67 1/4. Up 5 1/2. December wheat, 5.35 1/2, up 1 1/4. March wheat up 3, 5.64. May wheat, 5.79 1/4, up 3. December bean meal, 4.57.50. That's down $1.20. And on this Tuesday, December bean oil starts the day 52.50, up 59 cents. Opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Tuesday morning. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
At Baum Chevrolet Buick, above and beyond is standard practice. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. When you shop for a vehicle, there's nothing standard about it. You simply don't do it every day. That's why our sales staff will ask questions, listen, and help you find the transportation solution that checks all the right boxes. Come see our selection and start your search for a new Chevrolet or Buick today. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton. CEO Paul Scarron reminding you our walk-in clinic inside our family medicine building will treat your flu symptoms without an appointment. Find out more by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
For the latest in Central Illinois agricultural news, visit IllinoisFarmRadio.com. Get updated information on markets, weather, ag news, local interviews with NAFB farm broadcaster Jared White, and much, much more. All at IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, my guests in studio today, Cody Monkman and Mandi Ries with the Neighborhood Care Center. Mandi, let's talk end-of-year giving, obviously that time of the year. And Cody just talked about how much goes into the Thanksgiving food baskets, and you take that out of your contributions, obviously, to pay for those. So speak to how important this time of year is for you all.
Yeah. So every quarter we do a newsletter, and the fourth quarter newsletter, we treat that kind of as a fundraiser. So we really utilize that as an opportunity to highlight a story from a neighbor, because we believe stories are the most impactful. Where a lot of organizations measure success by money or by numbers or whatever. We do not measure in that way. We usually measure it in stories because that's that relational connection piece, right?
Yeah.
So this year we actually highlighted a neighbor. Her name's Marianne. And she is part of the Clinton network, but we got introduced to her through Neighborhood Market. She came during COVID because she'd kind of fell on some hard times and didn't know where to turn. And it was through Neighborhood Market that she started realizing, she noticed how our mission partners interacted with her and how they were building a relationship with her around the market. And she saw that and was like, well, how can I do that too? Like, it inspired her to think beyond herself. And so she started taking things from the market that she really didn't have a need for, but she was like, I'm going to hold on to them and utilize them to, because she loves cooking. Like, that is one of her love languages. She's very gifted at it. And so she started taking things and was like, I'm going to use this to help feed my apartment complex. So she lives in a small apartment complex of about 15 people. And so she started preparing food and she would go deliver it to her neighbors. And she actually got connected to one of our volunteer events, a loadout stocking night, and she came and she and I had a conversation where she started sharing some of these things with me because she was inquiring about Neighborhood Lab because she's like, oh, I thought that was like for medical bills or something, you know, because she just saw lab and was like,
we don't
you know,
do that.
no. And so I was like, oh no. So I shared with her exactly what Neighborhood Lab was. And I was like, you know what? That sounds like something that might be a good fit for you. Let's meet over coffee and talk about that. And it was in that conversation that we realized she would actually be a great story for our fourth quarter newsletter because it's really what we're all about is supporting and inspiring our neighbors to reach their full potential. And so she started out as a neighbor and now she's a neighbor and a mission partner.
Cody, in about 90 seconds, tell us about where money... So I didn't mean to interrupt you,
you're
by the
good.
way. I am so sorry.
No,
I
you're
totally
good.
just did that, and I didn't mean to. I'm
you're
sorry.
good.
Hey, now I'm going to have 60 seconds.
Wow. 60 seconds. Tell me about what the Neighborhood Care Center needs funding for.
Okay, so our operating budget is about $175,000, and I'm proud to say that about 2/3 of that goes towards our care center services throughout the year, and a very small portion of that goes to salary, payroll, and building expenses. So we try to keep those as limited as possible. But yeah, so this fourth quarter newsletter helps us make sure that we meet our budget. And then if we do that and exceed, then that money gets used as seed money going into the new year of 2024.
Do you have a target you need, like in terms of funding for each year?
Yeah, so we actually have increased our operating budget for next year, and we need $183,000.
Okay.
So, and most of that increase is responding to inflation.
Yeah, sure.
So.
Yep, no doubt. Very good. How do folks contribute, Mandi?
Yeah, you can give online at www.neighborhoodcarecenter.net.
Very good. Easy enough. Can
Yep.
you like do that electronically, digitally, all that
Yep,
good
there's
stuff?
a give tab right up at the top that says "Let's Give." Click on it, and it'll take you right to where you need to go.
Easy enough. Very good, guys. We'll appreciate you coming out, talking with us here this morning. Again, that is Cody Monkman and Mandi Ries with the Neighborhood Care Center in Clinton. Network news on the way on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW